Hey guys, it's Kimalyn. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you all the books that I read in September. In September, I read a total of 5 books, which is good for me because I am back in school, so trying to find a good balance between school and reading took a little bit. I'm glad I even got to read at least one book. 5 is really good for me. I didn't even finish my first book of the month until like the second week of September. So I did do a September prompt TBR jar video, which was also in my last wrap-up video too. I think I read 3 out of 6 or 7 of the stuff that I picked from the prompt jars. Pretty good. Could be better. So yeah, stay tuned to the end of the video because we're going to pick out of the prompt jar to pick my October reads. I would say that this is a pretty good reading month. Also, here are all the genres that I read and everything this month so you can get a little preview. The first book that I read in September was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I rated this a 3 stars. I have an issue with fake dating, and I think Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, needless to say, traumatized me. I really did not like that book, and it really put a pedestal on how I felt about the trope. Going into this, I was very iffy about. I knew from other reviewers there was a very strong FMC, female main character, because she's the bodyguard. So basically, there's Hannah and there's Jack. Jack is this famous actor. Hannah works for this like protective services of famous people. She got assigned to work for Jack and be his bodyguard. He has this like stalker, so that's why Hannah becomes Jack's bodyguard, because of the stalker. Because Jack's mom is sick, he doesn't want her to worry about why he has a bodyguard, so they came up with a plan to fake date. For some reason that seems more realistic than any other fake dating trope, but it still wasn't my favorite because I didn't like the fact that Jack compared Hannah to being just not famous, ordinary, and just not what he usually dates. It's just kind of talking down on her when she's such a strong FMC. I loved it. And to me, when I was picturing him, I was picturing that guy who played Superman. What's his face? Henry something? I don't know. And I was also picturing Chris Evans too. Then I was also picturing like Chris Hemsworth. So like, I don't know why I pictured him as a superhero. And I have no idea who I pictured her as. Like, I literally pictured her as this. I recommend it though. It's a 3 star. 3 stars, not a bad rating. Let me put on the screen how I rate my books, because 1 star is get it away from me, I hate that book, please burn it. 2 star, I can see why people liked it, was not my cup of tea. 3 star is I liked it, I recommend it, it was okay, mid. 4 star is I loved it, really recommend it. 5 star is inject that book into my bloodstream, get it tattooed all over my body. So this was a 3 star. It was good, you know, I recommend it. The next book that I read was my first ever fantasy book, and it was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Look how pretty. I rated this a 3.5 star out of 5, and I think because it was my first fantasy, I had like nothing to compare it to, so I don't know if this is like top tier best fantasy book ever, or if it's like the worst book ever. For my rating, I liked it as it was. I was confused at the end and like in some parts, but it was easy to read because the font is so big, and just the detailing in the book was really good. I really liked her writing. All of these books, I do have like a reading vlog on it, so you can see my reaction to reading this, except for The Bodyguard. I want to read the second one, The Ballad of Never After, because I know how heartbreaking that one is, but I'm on a book buying ban. We don't know when that'll be read. It's about this girl, Evangeline. She is in love with this guy. For some reason, like all of a sudden, the guy is marrying Evangeline's stepsister. So she goes to pray to this thing. I don't know what it's called. She kind of like lures in a fae, the Prince of Hearts, and she's just begging to like stop the marriage. Prince of Hearts, Jax, tells her that she needs to follow his little game that he wants to play of she has to kiss 3 people at any time, and whoever that he says, something like that. They strike up a deal to do that. I think Evangeline and Jax are like the ones that get together, because they don't really get together too much in this book, or at all really, because she's so in love with another guy. I was kind of confused, if you can explain that to me. So the next book that I read was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Joel, a mystery thriller book. I rated this a 2.5 star. Now, I could have lived without reading it. It has been on my shelf for like almost a year now, and a lot of people on booktube and everything were starting to read it, and people were giving reviews that it was very disturbing, very depressing. They felt very unsettled after reading it, so I was like kind of putting it off, and I was like, okay, let's just read it. It was disturbing. I'm not gonna sit here and lie that it wasn't. It was disturbing, but it's just like, if you're gonna market it as a mystery thriller, make it scary. It grossed me out. It made me sad, very unsettling, very predictable. The concept of it was very intriguing. The delivery did not deliver. I can't believe I just said that. It's about this woman named Laurel. Her daughter Ellie went missing 10 years ago. Fast forward 10 years later, she meets this guy at the cafe. They end up dating. She finally meets his daughters. One of his daughters looks exactly like her daughter Ellie that went missing 10 years ago. You're just reading the book trying to figure out why she looks so similar, what happened to Ellie, and it's just... This is my second book of Lisa Jules that I did not like. She looks like Celine Dion. And I didn't really like her writing that much. I liked her writing way better in None of This Is True. This one was very hard to follow and it was very annoying that I couldn't figure out what POV I was in. There was that. The next book that I read was Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I rated this a 5-star. I haven't had a 5-star since middle of July. My last 5-star was Beach Read. I thought for the longest time since that I wasn't gonna find a 5-star because I decided to go on a book buying ban. I was like, okay, we're gonna have to work with what I got. Pray that one of them is going to be a 5-star. Book after book after book was just 3-star or 2-star, 4-star. I was like, girl, am I like, what? You know, I picked this up and I read it on my Kindle. I started tabbing it. The thing is, I was very iffy about starting this because I knew that the trope was marriage of convenience. To me, marriage and convenience and fake dating are like related. This book follows Declan and Iris. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. If you don't know what that series is about, there's these 3 grandsons, Rowan, Declan, and Cal. Their grandfather passed away. He has this place called Dreamland, which is just like Disneyland, and he's giving his grandsons his inheritance only if they are able to complete a task that the grandfather gave them. So each book follows the grandson, the task that they have to complete. So Rowan in the first one had to like make some changes in the Dreamland, figure out what's working, what's not. I don't know. I didn't like that book. But this one, Declan had to marry somebody and have a child with her. At first I was just like, okay, like I was very iffy about it. Finding out that, okay, he is a very grumpy guy. Maybe finding love will soften him up a little bit. I know it's marketed as a grumpy sunshine, but this man is nothing but sassy. I was just giggling. I was kicking my feet reading this and I was crying as well. I was just, I don't know why this book just hit so hard. Not in like ways where I could relate to it, but it was just like I sympathize and is it empathize? I don't know. I can feel for the characters. It came to that point where I was like, I'm not going to be picky about my ratings anymore. Like if I really, really enjoyed it, it's a 5-star. I didn't want to be like 4.75, 4.25. If it's giving that rating, then it's going to give that rating, but I didn't want to give this a 4.75. This was literally a 5-star. And the last book that I read in September was Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. This is another 5-star read. 2 5-stars in 1 month, back to back, crazy. Basically, this girl named Emmeline, she starts reading this book that her friend Kara suggested for her to read. And as she's reading it, she's like, this is about me. So she starts reading this book and the book is about childhood best friends, the shit that those 2 characters went through as children. She's just like, I know exactly who wrote this and he's writing about my life. This guy named Jace, the guy who wrote the book, her childhood best friend, you're reading his book in the story at the same time as she's reading it. So it's really cool. You're reading 2 books at the same time. And it's just, the way that this book made me feel. I've never cried so much. I can understand why people might have rated this lower star ratings because of like Trevor, Emmeline's boyfriend for 7 years. Love triangle in a sense, but like you can tell that like they don't really love each other anymore and like they're going through a hard part of the relationship. Towards the end it kind of went a little too fast at some like the last couple chapters, but overall I really did enjoy this and I did not want to give this any lower than a 5-star. They haven't been in contact for over a decade. All of a sudden she just picks up this book and it's like about her, about this guy that like they stopped talking, and it's just, search up the trigger warnings. It's a very hard-hitting book that talks about very deep topics that I wasn't even prepared for to read. I think the book that she's reading in the book is more sad than the actual story, but it's like also the book that Jace wrote is fiction but also like based off a true story at the same time. There's just some fiction parts added to it. I don't know, it was just, I read these 2 books while I was on my period, so that could definitely play a factor into my ratings for them because I cried and just the way I felt about them, but I don't care. I love them. They were great. The smut in Terms and Conditions. Okay. Now we're going to pick out of the prompt jar and pick my October reads. Before I start, there is one book that I'm going to read in October, and that is Final Offer, the 3rd book of the Dreamland Billionaire series because I have to finish it. The book is really, really, really long. I think it's like almost 600 pages long. I really don't know. The more I put it off, the more I'm not going to read it. Right now, I'm currently still stuck in the world of the series, so might as well get it done. I don't have a physical copy of it though, but it's on Kindle Unlimited, so technically it's free. Technically, I'm not breaking my book buying ban. It's on my Kindle, and when I read something on my Kindle, I usually read a physical copy at the same time, so it's okay. Making excuses. That's one of the books that I will be reading in October. It gives fall vibes too. Something about the Dreamland Billionaire series just gives fall vibes. But anyway, let's pick. I'm very nervous. Ow. Okay, this jar is too small for my hand. An author that I've never read. I'm trying to mix in like, okay, romance, mystery, thriller. So I have a lot of authors that I haven't read. Also, by the way, if I get anything that makes me pick Magnolia Parks, I'm skipping it. I'm not reading Magnolia Parks this month. And also, I'm going to try to read Credence this month as well, so we'll see. Still haven't finished it. Author I've never read before. We have Heartless by Melissa Meyer. I've never read Melissa Meyer. This book is the origin story of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. I think that'll be really interesting, and it is a fantasy. I think this will be pretty fun, and it's also on Kindle, so I think. Next, a book with a pretty cover. Girl, that could be anything. I think I'm gonna do... I have two options. I have Part of Your World, which was on my last TBR for September. I didn't end up reading it. The cover is very cute. And I also have the flat share. Oh my god, the same cover, but different. I want to read this, but it's not as pretty as this one. I'm gonna pick The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary because there might be other prompts that'll make me pick this one. Pretty cover. This cover is so cute. Like, it just gives very like spring vibes, even though we're in fall. Anyways, let's pick 3 books total, including Final Offer and Credence. That's 4 books. Okay, we're gonna do 2 more. Oh my god, I picked like all of them. Blue cover. That's gonna have to be Part of Your World. Okay, I can do that. I need a mystery thriller in this. I don't think I'm gonna put this. This is also blue cover. I'm gonna do Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney as well, because if I have 3 romances and 1 fantasy, girl, I need to throw in a mystery thriller in October. I know this was kind of cheating, but I don't really care. We have Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. For an author I've never read before, Heartless by Melissa Meyer. And for a blue cover, we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. For a book with a pretty cover, The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. These were all the books that we picked from the prompt jar, including Final Offer and Credence. I feel like I don't have a lot of options because I'm like getting through my physical TBR, getting closer to getting off my ban way sooner. I know I said I'm gonna get off my book buying ban December 1st, but I have a feeling I'm gonna get it off way sooner. There's 3 books in here: Every Summer After, Spanish Love and Deception, and Just Haven't Met Yet, that I'm not going to read, and I'm gonna get rid of those books, as well as Normal People. Yeah, there's some books I need to get rid of because I'm not going to read those and unhaul them. These were all the books that we picked from the prompt jar. These were all the books that I read in September. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a big thumbs up, comment down below if you read any of these books, subscribe, stay tuned for more reading vlogs and everything. I'm gonna try to get through my physical TBR, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!